Yo, what's good? It's your boy Derek Branch here, SportsView360.com. And today's live stream is going to go ahead and talk about five players that I believe are going to have breakout seasons in 2024. So on this list, we have, I would say, four out of the five players on this list were rookies last season. Other player, he's now going into his third year. So without further ado, without delays, here we go. We're gonna count down from five to number one. So starting off at number five, I'm gonna go with safety Jordan Howden. In 2023, he played in 16 games, 44 tackles, 23 solo tackles, and one sack. He is the free safety who they inserted into the Rotten lineup into the mix when Marcus May was battling with injuries, things like that. Um, played pretty well, and a lot of people were talking about it last year when he was playing and he was producing. People were saying, you know what, the way this guy is playing, he could possibly, you know, this could mark the end for Marcus May. And once the season ended and we went to free agency, that's what exactly happened. They released Marcus May, and now they're banking on Jordan Howden to be that guy that steps up, that guy that you know can play that free safety role like they envision Marcus May to play it. Because if we're being honest, we haven't had the Saints haven't had that level of production from the free safety position since they decided to not re-sign Marcus Williams, who is now a member of the Baltimore Ravens. And forever, you can make fun of him and be ticked off because of the missed tackle against the Vikings in the Minnesota Miracle, but he was their top safety at the time. He held that position down from the day he joined the team, the day he was drafted, until they departed in his final year, in I believe it was 2021. So he's been missed, and maybe Jordan Howden could be the guy that comes through. I think he can have a solid year. I know there's been some chatter out there about the team possibly signing Justin Simmons, who is a free agent right now, who's to play with the Denver Broncos. But I mean, if you keep Jordan Howden and he produces, you know, um, he builds off of what happened last season, of what he pulled off last season. I think you got a bargain right there. Because he's still in a rookie, he's still playing on a rookie contract, a late round draft pick, and it would pay off. Because dealing with Simmons, to bring in Simmons, is going to come down to price. I'm not pretty sure that he's not going to just come in and take a hometown discount. So they're gonna have to come in and meet at a middle ground, both parties, and determine what he's actually worked and how it's going to benefit the team and Justin Simmons. But if not, that shows you how much confidence they have in Jordan Howden at that free safety position. So Jordan Howden is my guy at number five. Number four, I'm going to go with A.T. Perry, wide receiver, several round draft pick from last year's draft. He played in 10 games, 12 receptions, 291 receiving yards, four touchdowns on 25 targets. The thing here about with A.T. Perry is that a lot of Saints fans need to quickly like erase the idea of A.D. Perry taking on the Michael Thomas role with his team. Because if you paid close attention to A.T. Perry, his game did not resemble anything of what Michael Thomas did. Even when Michael Thomas was at his peak, when he was in his prime, A.T. Perry's game is entirely different, and that's not a bad thing. It's not me knocking A.T. Perry because I believe A.T. Perry has his own skill sets that separates him from Michael Thomas and makes him valuable to his offense. And we saw what A.T. Perry was capable of doing last season. As the year starts to wind down, we saw more where he got more targets. When Michael Thomas left the game, left the Vikings game with an injury, we got to see more of A.T. Perry. And to me, he give us a small sample size of how valuable he can become in this offense. So this year, new offense. Um, Derek Carr is his quarterback, so that's been already established. The chemistry between those two. It's just that they're going to be going into a new offense. So I believe he can have a breakout season with this team. I think he can have at least this last season he had 291 receiving yards. I think he can increase that by he can add another 300 to 400 yards to that. Have like a 600 yard, 700 yard season. 5, 7 touchdowns, 50 receptions, 45 receptions. I think that would be great for him. That would be considered a breakout season for A.T. Perry. Now I don't know. I think right now he would be the number three guy in this offense. Rashid Shaheed is the number two. We obviously know who his number one receiver is on his team right now. But I think if A.T. Perry can get at least 600 yards, 700 yards receiving with this team, I think he can have a huge season. That would benefit his team in a significant way in 2024. So A.T. Perry comes in at number four. Number three, I got Kendry Miller. Kendry Miller last season only played 8 games, had 41 carries, 156 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, A.T. Perry was pretty much injured for a significant portion of the 2023 season, dealt with numerous injuries, dating back to training camp. And if we're being honest, those injuries really started in college and it carried on to the NFL. But when he played, it's kind of similar to what we saw with A.T. Perry. We got a sample size of what A.T. Perry can do, of what Kendrick Miller can do in this offense. Especially in the last game of the season where he had a pretty good game, in my opinion. We saw some flashes of what A.T. Perry can do, and he has similar traits of an Alvin Kamara. Catch it out of the backfield. I think you can put him up in the slot, similar to what he did with Alvin Kamara, and he has the power to go the distance if needed. We saw him did it a lot in college when he was back with the TCU Horned Frogs. So I think he's gonna move up in the depth chart and at least become the number three or number two running back in the system. And I know there was some chatter about where Kendrick Miller is at in the depth chart, and you know there's another running back playing. There's Jamal Williams is currently the one is right now. It's Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams ahead of him in the depth chart. But I think that may change going into the training camp. I think Kendrick Miller is going to do just fine in this offense next season if they can have all three running backs putting up big numbers. Numbers that contribute to this team's success. I think it would be great. But Kendrick Miller, I expect Kendrick Miller to have significantly more rushing yards, more touchdowns in his offense next season because based on what we've heard, And pretty much based on what we have seen, I've seen with the Kyle Shanahan influenced offense throughout the league, and especially with their team, the 49ers, is very friendly to running backs. And you don't necessarily have to have a skill set of an Alvin Kamara or Christian McCaffrey to be productive in his offense, in that offense. We saw it in Miami where guys like Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert had big numbers with that system. Even in with the 49ers, when Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert played with that team, with the Francisco 49ers, they put up huge numbers. And these guys weren't all purpose running backs, you know. So I think the hope for Saints fans should be hoping that this offense is not beholden to just one running back. It is not catered to the skill sets of just one type of running back. It should be able to help other running backs that have different skill sets outside of what Alvin Kamara can do or Christian McCaffrey. So I'm expecting Kendry Miller to um, have a breakout season this upcoming year, and they're gonna need him to. They may have to count more on him if Alvin Kamara decides to set out, or they try to come up with a trade to move to part ways with him. Who knows what they'll do, but they can be counting on him even more if Alvin Kamara is not a part of the fold in 2024. So Kendrick Miller at number 3. Number 2, we got Brian Brzee, the defensive tackle, rookie first round pick of last year's draft. Played 17 games, had 24 tackles and 4.5 sacks. Brian Brzee is another interesting piece to the puzzle this upcoming season, especially on that Saints interior where it appears to be thin right now. You know, you need guys to come through. You need guys to play better than what they did last season. We didn't really see the impact of what free agents Nathan Saunders and Colin Sanders had on that unit last season. So Kendrick Miller, I'm not Kendrick Miller, but Brian Brzee, I think right now on the defensive line, out of the players that they have on that depth chart at defensive tackle, I think he is their best talent. I expect, I expect Brian Brzee to make a huge jump this upcoming season. Um, be better at both phases of the game, against the run, against the pass, against rushing the quarterback. I think he takes it to the next level, and they're gonna need him to because, like I previously said, the Saints the interior right now is thin, and I think it's a question mark. There could be some question marks with that unit, based on what we saw last year, because there was a point, everybody says this as well, but it sounds as cliches, but there was a point where the Saints interior did not allow a 100-yard rusher for a significant portion of their run during the Sean Payton years, the latter years of the Sean Payton Drew Brees era. Can they get back to that? You know, because if they do, Brian Brzee is going to have to play a huge role in that. And I think he has a chance. I'm not comparing him to Aaron Donald or anybody else, Chris Jones or players like that, but I think he has a chance to be one of those talents where they can play against the run and they can go after the quarterback at his size, especially from the interior. Whenever you can get a defensive tackle to be proficient in both the run and against the pass, stop quarterbacks, that's a significant that's a elite player that you have right there. So Brian Brzee at number two. Number one on this list, and the last player on this list, I got Chris Olave. Chris Olave is going to his third season with the team, and I am expecting him to take the next step as the Saints' primary option at wide receiver. Michael Thomas is no longer with this team, so he's no longer in his shadow. And it's right now it's Chris Olave is the number one guy. And I expect him. He's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons his first 2 years in the league. Played 16 games last year, 87 receptions, 1,123 yards, 5 TDs, 138 targets. I expect him to at least get 1,300 yards receiving, 13 to 1,400 yards receiving in his offense. I think he's on the right path. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully this year there won't be any um, disconnect between Olave and Derek Carr, because it was clearly evident last season that those two players were not on the same page. And then in the long run, it didn't help this team. But in the same sense, in the same token, it got better down the stretch between these two players. And that's mainly in part because Carr got better protection. They made some changes along the offensive line. Derek Carr had more time to throw, which in turn helped out Chris Olave. So new offense we got coming. We got a new offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak, and I'm expecting Olave to at least have at least 13 to 1,400 yards receiving, 8 to 9 touchdowns, 90 to 100 receptions, and I'm expecting a Pro Bowl bid from this guy. This guy that I expect Olave to get to the Pro Bowl this season. Because he has the potential to be a really special player with his football team. So there's that. I think those are my five breakout players for this upcoming season. Number one, I got Chris Olave. Number two, Brian Brzee. Kendrick Miller at number three. A.T. Perry at number four. And number five, Jordan Howden. So as I previously said, 4 out of the 5 players on this list were rookies last season. I expect those four players to have significant impact on the Saints' upcoming season. So those are my 5 breakout players for the 2023, 2000, my bad, the 2024 regular season. So there's that. All right, so that's for y'all for right now, man. Give me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you feel. In the comment section below, give me your 5 breakout players for this upcoming season. And also check out sportsview360.com/Saints for latest content in the All Saints organization. Have a blessed day. Peace. I'm out. What's up, Donald?